I was born in Tampa, Florida, to a couple of 20-year-olds who only a few years before they had me had been living lives in Cuba, never really thinking that they would ever live their lives anywhere else. But then circumstances intervened, and they found themselves in Miami, met there, and moved to Tampa, where I was born. Unfortunately, there was so much going on politically, upheaval in their lives, that by the time I was 5, they had divorced. I went to live with my mother, who is a deeply religious person. So while I would like to tell you that any altruism that I have comes naturally to me, really it was drilled into me. I went to Catholic school my entire life, my entire scholastic career, including, as Bob mentioned, 10 years of Jesuit education, where the motto was and is men and women for others. And to be a servant leader was the archetype that you were expected to strive for. When I graduated from Loyola University in New Orleans, I returned to Tampa, and much like my parents in Cuba, I expected to be in Tampa for the foreseeable future. But once again, life took the turn that it would, and I moved to St. Louis, ironically, or perhaps predictably, to work for the Jesuits. And I worked for them for 3 years in their media ministry. I really enjoyed getting that opportunity because I was itching to do something to take the talk and theory of social justice and actually put it into action. Following that work for the Jesuits, I started a media company that was focused on social justice programming. And to promote that company, I joined the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I became a member of their board of directors, and time went on, and all of a sudden, I found myself leaping into nonprofit management and becoming the head of that organization. As Bob alluded to, I enjoyed helping Latino companies grow, but I really wanted to get back to my social justice roots. Didn't know what that would be until Bob Fox came into the picture. He told me that he has still not found someone to permanently lead Constante Salud, and asked me if I would be interested. And I said, well, yeah, but I have no healthcare experience whatsoever. He said, that's okay, I'm looking for someone who knows how to run an organization and who can get things done. And I have been there now 8 years. As Bob said, I'm extremely proud of what has happened over the last 8 years. We started with a 4,000 square foot clinic in this building provided by St. Louis University. We doubled the size of the clinic. We started a case management program because we knew from previous clinics that we couldn't be solved until we tried to provide everything. So we created this case management program that when patients can't get care at CASA, we find care for them outside of the clinic. We go with them to the appointment staff as their advocates, and if they're hypertensive or diabetic, we will actually visit them in their homes. If they can't get to their appointments, we provide round-trip Uber rides for them. And then mental health continued to be a scourge. However, we had people waiting up to 2 years to get to see a therapist. We had a waiting list of over 300 people. So we renovated the building next door. St. Louis University extended its generosity with another rent-free lease, and we recruited 4 partners who, in collaboration with CASA, would deliver services there. And as Bob said, we're now up to 12 partners, 7 months in, and 1 year ahead of schedule, the Mental Health Collaborative is operating 7 days a week. Leading up to today, I had a conversation with Andrea Jackson, the chair of the award team, and in one of our final conversations on the phone, she said, Jorge, you seem to be a person who gets things done. It made me think about the last 8 years, and in all sincerity, I said to her, you could not have paid me a higher compliment. Anyone who knows me knows that I love to talk. It comes naturally to me from my Cuban family. But what I like more is taking action. Is to do concrete things that improve the lives of others. So when I was told that I would get an award for ethics in action, I was pretty happy about that. Because of my mother, growing up, I had a very strong grounding in the Bible, and especially the New Testament. And a passage that she constantly talked to me about was where Jesus says to his disciples, by your actions will people know that you are my followers. My mother used that verse to remind me that if you took it was just sounds. It was if you just didn't take action, all you were doing was talking. When I was a child, she would occasionally take me into the rural parts of Tampa to pick strawberries with the migrant farm workers there. I was not happy. about that. The picking season in Florida is December to March, roughly, for strawberries, but it's Florida. It was still super hot. There were bugs everywhere. It was literally back-breaking work. And we didn't have to be there, right? My mother had a job, she had an apartment, we didn't have to be there for our livelihood. But she said, no, to go and pray for these men and women at Mass on Sunday doesn't cut it. We have to be in solidarity with them. We have to know how the food gets to our table. And with that knowledge, then we can take informed action. That's really the center of my remarks today. It's all too easy, even for the best intentioned among us, not to take on the burden of action. Now, that does not mean that thought and consideration are not necessary. They are. We need to continue to talk about ethics and its implications in the modern world. I was, for example, very gratified to hear that Washington University is launching an institute focusing on the intersection of medicine, the law, and the ethics of human information management. As we move further into this wondrous time of advancements in the field of health, the ethical issues that emerge from genomic medicine and other areas that strike at the heart of who we are as human beings must be discussed and pondered. And we must grapple with the ethics of competing interests, sovereignty and the tearing apart of families at the southern border, national security and the closing of opportunities to people yearning to breathe free. But in the end, we must act. We cannot be the people that Thoreau was lamenting when he talked about people who were leading lives of quiet desperation, succumbing to a feeling of powerlessness. That cannot, must not be us. Now, I show everything that I'm going to write or publish, or otherwise present to my wife, because her 30 years as a journalist made her a great editor, and she also really gets to the heart of things. When I showed her the first draft of these remarks, she said, well, you've had plenty to say about action, but not a whole lot to say about ethics and specifically what it means to be ethical in our time. And I thought about that, and I started to write notes, but I couldn't get my thoughts together. Everything I wrote down was muddled. And then I went to this meeting from the Deaconess Foundation where I serve on their advisory board. And I listened to a speech by Dr. Manuel Pastor, a sociologist from the University of Southern California. And he crystallized what I wanted to say. Today, to be ethical is to accept conflict. Dr. Pastor quoted that famous Martin Luther King line of that the moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice. But Dr. Pastor said, it doesn't bend on its own. We have to pull it. And there's no way to do that without conflict. Needless to say, I am not talking about violence. I am talking about uncomfortable conversations, about speaking uninhibitedly and engaging what some might call courageous conversations, even though being human, our first instinct is not to provoke. It is shamefully easy to shirk this responsibility. A couple of years ago, I was at the gym working out. I was finished, and I was getting dressed, and a few guys were at a stall a couple blockers away, and their conversation turned to how lazy and thuggish black people are in St. Louis. I finished getting dressed, and I walked out. I avoided conflict. I traded it for comfort, even though conflict is what was called for. I was deeply unethical that afternoon, and I keep that top of mind. There are grave injustices being committed abroad and in our own nation, and in that situation, silence is complicity, and inaction is abetting. We must bend the arc of the universe. To quote Dr. Pastor one more time, he said, some of you were thinking that President Obama was going to save us, and you were very mistaken. And now some of you think that President Trump is going to lay us low, and you are mistaken again. It is we who will determine what happens if we are willing to trade comfort for conflict, even amongst our friends and family. I've been using the word we quite liberally, and that's very intentional. A single person can take action, but they can never sustain it. I always remember that at cost of my work, we come to absolutely nothing if not for the clinical team and the almost 70 volunteer doctors who day in and day out provide service to our patients. It would come to nothing without my case managers who advocate tirelessly and passionately for our patients. and would come to nothing without the volunteers and administrative staff and members of the board of directors who do things that must be done on a daily basis to make an organization run. In a very real sense, when you honor me, you honor all of them today. And as for conflict, we must support each other. We must be willing to wade into the storm, allied with those who insist that children all count, not just some, but all. That justice is for the weak as well as for the powerful. And that equity and equality are not just things that we talk about on a Sunday, but that permeate everything we do, and that make us willing to, as civil rights hero and U.S. Congressman John Lewis says, get into good trouble. Actions, not words. Conflict, not comfort. These are the imperatives of our time. We cannot look to heaven to solve our problems. Jesus himself said it. My Father makes the sun rise on the evil and the good. He causes his rain to fall on the just and the unjust. It's up to us to stand for justice, to act with integrity, and even in the face of evil, to love our fellow human beings. Tikkun Olam. We are called to mend a broken world, and in so doing,